Welcome to Fitness by Design. This is the podcast where we engineer optimal health, energy, and confidence for corporate men just like you without having to sacrifice any of your career success or family time. I'm your host, Coach Spencer. This is part 2 of my raw and uncut episode with my client, Herman. So sit back and enjoy the rest of our conversation. Yeah. And I mean, even now, like right now, I would have to pull up your chart, but like you're sitting right at about the same weight as when we started almost 2 years ago.
I think my memory, I think I was at 152 when we started, or 150. So,
That
yeah,
sounds
and
right.
today
Yeah.
I weighed in at spot on 150.0. So like literally right where I started, and I couldn't look different. Like if you cut my head off, same face, but oh my God, it's like night and day. Said differently, I've been wearing sleeveless shirts forever. It just happens to be it happens to be because I'm a firefighter and can be on call. It's like what I prefer to wear under my gear. So I've been wearing sleeveless shirts since I've been in the fire department, which is call it 8 years now. Just 2 weeks ago, I went to a doctor's appointment and some woman in the waiting room, some random woman, she's the equivalent of like a dirty old man, I guess. But she said to me, she goes, "Aren't you cold?" Now, don't get me wrong, I love the muscles, but aren't you cold? Never in my life had anyone ever said that to me. Never. Not once in my entire life did someone say, "I like the muscles." So like the fact that I'm getting, again, a compliment's a compliment, doesn't matter where it's coming from. Like the fact that people are noticing and again, same weight, 150. Like it's just weight in different places. It's freaking night and day.
I remember that happened and you messaged me and you were
Yeah.
like, old people get away with so much shit.
I think that,
You're
yeah.
like, if an old man said that to some random girl in the doctor's office waiting room, it would be like World War III. And
Yeah.
this old lady just started hitting on me at the
Yeah.
doctor's office.
Hysterical. Yeah. But again,
So
to the point
obviously,
of like, we've talked about it. Sorry to cut you off there, but when we've
no,
talked
go
about
ahead.
this, like, I think one of the things that you and I talked about when my weight was going up, and maybe I expressed a concern or two, you said, and I do remember, I don't remember the date, but I do remember messaging you being like, or maybe it was in my check-in where I said, "Hey, I'm finally starting to get comfortable with weight just being a number and it being more about how I look versus what's the number on the scale." That is glaringly true right now. Again, 150. I'm at the same weight, as when you and I started. And I couldn't be happier with how I look. And when we started, I was not happy with how I look. So I think that was also a big turning point. Maybe that's the moment where I started to kind of, believe in the program. Maybe that's when the light bulb went on when you were preaching, hey, like the scale is just a number. And yeah, sometimes it helps us in terms of giving us information as to whether or not we're progressing how we want to. But at the end of the day, it's a number. And if you like how you look at X, it doesn't matter if that's higher or lower than when you started. X is just a number. And that I think is what is most obvious today, sitting here at the same weight as when we started 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell you a date, but I do remember. I think there was a couple of weeks in the check-ins where you. So for anybody that's obviously not in my program, one of the questions on our weekly check-in is like, how do you feel about the results on the scale? Which is realistically probably a shitty question to ask, but it's on there every week because I want to have a gauge of like, how are you feeling with where you're at? And then the next question is obviously like, well, how fucking compliant were you? Because if you say, oh, I feel like a fat ass, and then you say, well, I didn't follow the fucking program all week. It's like, okay, well, 2 + 2 is still 4, dude. Like that hasn't changed. But yeah, I think that there was a couple weeks where like you put like a 3 or a 4 out of 7. Um, and we had that conversation. I think I don't remember if it was just like via check-ins or I messaged you or something, but I was like, hey, like I get it. I understand it because I've been there. But like when you look in the mirror, how do you feel? When you put your clothes on, how does that feel? Because if you say I don't like the number on the scale, and then you tell me I feel fat in my clothes are fitting tighter in the wrong places, and I just don't really love what I see when I take my shirt off in the mirror, that's a very different conversation than, no, yeah, you know what? Like, you're right. The number on the scale makes me feel like a fat ass. But when I look in the mirror, I see muscle tone, I see definition, I feel good, my shirts still fit great, things like that. Like, those are two very different conversations. And one is, okay, we probably need to pivot a little bit of the program. The other is more of a mindset shift for you. And realistically, that mindset shift is you don't build a house without a hammer, and the scale is just the fucking hammer.
Right.
Um, and that's like, that's a huge piece. And it's, you and I talked about it, and Adam and I talked about it when I talked to him in another episode, is like, he lost 60 pounds. And when we talked at the beginning of 2025 about goals, he's like, yeah, I don't really have a weight goal. And I was like, bro, what?
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
I remember when it was either in the chat or one of our groups were at like, or maybe it was in our check-in and you told me that Adam had said that. And, Adam and I basically joined, I don't know if he was
Within
first,
a
but
month or
like within
two.
this, yeah, within a month of each other. And in the beginning, I don't know if we were day one client, but like the group was much smaller back then. It's grown quite nicely, and love all the guys in the chat. But Adam and I kind of had that, starting together feel. We did a podcast with you, like the three of us did one together, which was like a really great way just to kind of meet Adam and see how fabulous he is. And you know, he at the I don't want to throw out numbers that are wrong, but whatever the number was, I remember he was again just looking to lose 10, 20 pounds, whatever it was. And he for the past 20 months has always had a goal, right? Like here's the number I want, here's the number I want. And again, the number kept changing because he kept hitting them because he's a rock star. But but there was always a I want a number. And like when you told me, like maybe a month ago when we did our check-in, yeah, I just chatted with Adam, and he's like you. I don't really have a number. Like it blew my mind. It's like unbelievable. It's so fantastic. It's so great to hear. Not because people shouldn't want to hit a number, but it means that like he feels so comfortable and he trusts the program so much that he just knows, hey, I'm going to continue with the program. It doesn't matter what my weight is, what my number is. I like how I look, and I know, trust the process. I follow the program. I'm going to get to a point I want. Whether that means I add 5 pounds or lose 5 pounds, who cares? I'm going to like how I look. And that is so important from a mentality perspective. Like, you know, I've always told people, like, if you don't want to fuck yourself, who like why would someone else want to fuck you, right? It's like the first step is like liking how you feel, liking how you look, regardless. Like I didn't like how I looked at 150, and now I like how I look at 150. So like understanding that like you'll see results, and the goal is to just stick with the program, right? And then I think your point about the compliance is also right there. Like did I comply? Yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, okay. Like, okay, well, then I don't need to change your program. You just need to stick to it.
Yeah, and obviously, like that episode, I think is subsequently disappeared into the ether. I have a copy of it, but like I think it might still be on YouTube for anybody that wants to find it. But it's not in the archives of Fitness by Design. It was an old podcast. I don't feel like re-recording the intro. Um, so, but that was, I remember that because when we were talking about it, that, to your point, like mindset came up, and like the mindset of the goal and like how you talk to yourself. And you brought up a conversation that you actually had with your wife about it, and how you basically were like, your wife's inner dialogue, you were like, I would kill somebody if they said that to your face. So why the fuck are you allowed to say it to yourself? And then Adam was like, yeah, I said that to myself. And you literally, first time that you've ever talked to this man, were
Yeah.
like, I will fly to Colorado and kick your ass.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, I guess this is true in many aspects of life, but like, it's easy to get down on things. But like, if I'm not going to build myself up, how can I expect other people to? You know what I mean? So like, whether it's how I look, how I feel, whatever it is, like jokes I don't know. Like if I don't think I'm funny, who else is going to think I'm funny, right? Like if I don't think that at work that I have the right answers, well, my boss won't think I have the right answers, or the people under me won't think I have the right. So like the first step, it's not a fake until you make it, but like it's a self confidence of whatever you're talking about. In this case, let's talk about appearance. Like if I don't think I look good, well then no one else is going to think I look good, right? Or probably not. Not always true, but so anyway, so yeah, like having that inner monologue can be huge and can be motivating. Like so, I've been so I've run a bunch of marathons. In the last couple of miles, like it sucks. I don't know anyone who's like mile 25. That's the best part. No, it sucks, like the last part. But like you start having that inner monologue, and like you have a choice. You can start saying, "Hey, you suck. You're slow. You're not going to PR. You're going slower than you did. You're terrible." That's some people get driven by that. I don't know. Or some people could be like pushing yourself along, like chanting, like, dude, you've done 25 miles. You got one left. Let's go. Like, who cares what the time is? Let's just crush this 1 mile. Like, you know what I mean? And it takes the same amount of energy to have both monologues. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, it's exhausting to be pro yourself. No, it's not. It's exhausting to hate yourself. That's got to be tiring. So, like, that's the other piece of it. Like, that inner monologue is a big piece. And then I guess kind of go back to the program, like, on the days where your inner monologue's not there, we've got, what do we have, like a between 8 or 10 or 12 guys in the chat, like, and there's been guys who've raised their hand and be like, hey guys, today's a tough day. And like 4 or 5 guys will prime up and be like, dude, I'm having a tough day. Here's what I did to fix mine, or here's what you've just done. Like, just, you know, sometimes people are raising a hand and they want help. Sometimes people just want to have someone listen to them vent. But whatever it is, like, there's this community of inner monologues, if you will, that if yours is not where it needs to be today, someone else will pipe in and be that inner monologue until you're back to where you need to be.
Yeah. So with that, I'm gonna throw a fucking huge fastball at you and see if you can hit it. I asked the same exact question to Adam, and he was like, "What the fuck? You could have told me you were asking that." Um,
Oh, nice.
what do you feel like has been the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself since we started working together?
Then I can do it, and it's not, there's a lot of it's, right? Like, it is pretty vague. Um, so before you and I started talking, I was working it. So just so people understand, so I'm a CFO at a private equity firm, and basically the levels are like associate, senior associate, controller, or probably assistant controller, controller, and then CFO. And prior to you and I chatting, the highest title I had was controller, and now obviously I'm at CFO. So in work, like I wanted to be CFO. Like basically, since I started out of college, my goal pretty early on was to become a CFO at a private equity firm, but I had never done it. And like you go on interviews and they say, well, you've never been a CFO. Like how do you know you could do it? And you give them the lip service, you answer the questions, but like I didn't know that I could do it. And then putting that aside, moving to nutrition, like I always said, like, hey, like if I ever needed to lose weight, I've got the self control to be able to do it, but I had never done it. I had never been forced to do it. Put that aside, going to the gym, I always said, yeah, like, I could easily bench press my own weight or bench press twice my own weight, or I could always, build muscle whenever I want to, or I could always get shredded if I want to. I just don't want to. Put that aside. I even maybe even before that, I always said to myself, if I could always make time to work out. I just don't. I choose not to make time. But I never done it. And now, like, there's all these things in my life. Whether it's because of the program, whether the program helped, whether the program had nothing to do with it, but like the idea that I was able to do things, and I think that for me, like, that's a huge, huge confidence boost. And then when you start to see you're doing something that you've never done before, right? So for me, let's just focus on the Gallo side of things, nutrition and fitness. I'm starting to do things that I've never done before. And not only am I seeing small results, I'm seeing noticeable results, and I'm hitting achievements, whether it's lower weight, whether it's more reps in the gym, whether it's heavier weight in the gym. I mean, a quick aside, my wife, she's been working out with a coach for many years, and we have some weights in the house. And when I first started with Spencer, we did have the gym workouts, but you also had put together, which was super helpful early on, a couple of workouts I could do at home. So like, hey, can't make it to the gym tonight. I need to bang out a workout. I'm not going to be able to leave that. Let's say, for example, my wife was out. I got the two boys sleeping, so I can't leave, right? I'm babysitting in quotes, but have free time. You could bang out a workout at home. So you, which was great, you crafted a couple of full bodies that I could do at home with the weights that I have. Fast forward to right now, I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 weights. And in the beginning, like that was great. I look at those weights now, I was like, I can't do anything at home with those. Do you know what I mean? Like it just, again, so seeing results, right? Knowing I could do it, like it is inspiring in other aspects of my life. Like the unknown, and now knowing it can be done. Well, I mean, it's motivating for everything else. Now I can prove yeah, I can be a CFO. I can be. So whenever there's something new in life, can I don't know, take both boys on a vacation by myself, something I've never done before. Like I've taken one of them by myself and never. Okay, let's try it. Like everything else I've tried has succeeded. So like, so like just getting the confidence of, yeah, if I put my mind to something, like good things will happen. Maybe not it, but something good will come of it. Like that is just so empowering. So yeah, so I'd say that's got to be the biggest transformation, aside from the physical, mental transformation, or just headspace, if you will, since I've started.
I love that. And that the question still has not failed me. It's going to happen one of these days. But I no,
You
I
mean
do.
someone
I
be like,
love
I
that.
learned
Like it's
nothing. I can't do
yeah.
anything.
I didn't fucking learn anything. Like why the fuck am I in this podcast right now?
It's the
um
episode that never gets aired.
yeah. That goes in the archives. Um no, I mean I think that's something that is tough to put into words though. Is like there's so many things, right? There's so many it's in everybody's life. I have it's in my life. You still have it's in your life. And understanding that there is a way to do it and there's a to use your words, like there's a level of confidence that comes with just being like, you know what, I'm gonna fuck it up and figure it out. And it's either gonna go really great or it's not. But if it doesn't, I can learn something from it. It's never this, oh, I failed at this. I couldn't do this. I'll never do it again. I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday and they said, have you ever been in a car accident? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, do you still drive your car? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, exactly. Like, just because something didn't work once or something went wrong once doesn't mean you just stop doing it. It's not like, oh, I tried a diet and it didn't work, so I'm just going to stop eating, or I tried to bench press my body weight and I failed at one rep, so I'm just going to stop benching. Like that mindset just can't exist because it's when you take it from, when you look at it from fitness, you're like, oh, I can't do that. And so you stop doing it. But then when you like zoom out a little bit and you're like, you look at it from that like car example, you're like, yeah, like, of course I still drive. Like, I have to get to work. And it's like, okay, so then why the fuck can't you go to the gym and like still exercise and still eat right? Like, it's no different than you got in a car accident, you still drive your car. Just because keto didn't fucking work for you forever doesn't mean you can't find another nutrition system that fits into your life and works, right?
Yeah, that's yeah. So sometimes we're our own worst enemy, and it's a lot easier said than done. But like most things we can do. I'm not saying you could run like a 4-minute mile, but I think there are definitely goals out there that are reaches but still attainable. And I like, when I talk to people, everyone's like, "Oh my God, you ran a marathon or you run marathons," and I tell everyone like, it was one day in my life where I never ran a marathon, and it's one of those things where I'm not saying you could wake up tomorrow and run a marathon, or if you did, that you wouldn't, you might be able to, but you'd injure yourself. Like that's not a good result either. But like if, and I mean just about anyone, the average person, whoever it is, he, she, whatever you want to call it, if they follow what I would consider to be a regular training program that is designed to help you run a marathon, if you stick to it, you'll do it. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah. One day I was like, okay, I'm going to run a marathon. I found a program, a beginner program. I started running, call it one day a week, 2 days a week, three, like yada yada yada. Now I run marathons. But like it was a task to me that felt unattainable. I decided, hey, I'm going to attain it. But so it's the same thing. Like just because one day I didn't decide to go out and run, or maybe one day I got hurt, didn't mean I stopped. But I did things smart, talk to coaches, talk to doctors, things like that. But so same thing here. Like assuming that you're like, I'll never play in the NBA. That's an unattainable goal. It's a ridiculous goal. I'm 5'8", 40, I'm white. Like there's a lot of things that are holding me back. I'm not good at basketball. That's probably the biggest impact. But like, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of things that would hold me back from playing in the NBA. That's a very unattainable, unreasonable goal. But, assuming that you're shooting for something that is not over here, is not just within reach, something that's a little bit out of reach, but still attainable, that one of the greatest things is reaching forward and eventually getting there. And it may not happen tomorrow, it may not happen in a week, it may not happen in a month, but just yeah, it's like that mindset of like something's working, it inspires you in other areas in life, and I think that that's super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that's so true. Is like my running joke is always like, oh, set the bar so low that everything you do is an achievement. But there is like there is that piece of like you have to challenge yourself, and that goes way back to the conversation that we had about like people that just go show up to work to get a paycheck versus the people that show up like you said like the highest you'd ever been was a controller, and then all of a sudden you were interviewing and people were like, well, why the fuck do you think you can be a CFO? And it's like, because I believe I can. And it's just that almost blind faith in yourself to be able to do something that I think kind of helps drive people. um, I think you know even tying it back to your point within the group, like within the community, within the guys, like you and Adam are two of the more vocal, I'll say, vocal not being like a bad thing, but like you guys are some of the most kind of engaged and arguably impactful, I think, in that group, because you guys just show up day in and day out. How do you feel like, one, maybe this is the first time you're ever going to hear this, but like showing up as almost a leader inside of that group chat has helped, but also like both for yourself, but for the other people in the group. Like, how do you feel like you kind of showing up as that almost leader inside of that, and like showing up, talking about yourself, talking about your journey, bringing yourself into that has helped you personally in like staying motivated, keep pushing, like doing your piece of it?
Yeah. I don't want to put words in the other guy's mouths. For all I know is like they all hate me. So I don't I don't want to pretend like that they love me. I don't even want to pretend that they view me as a leader, honestly. Uh, but I do think that having that group of guys there um, is huge from an accountability perspective, right? Like I could tell you I'm having an off week, but like the guys there don't know it unless I tell them. And so, either I've got I like just like I owe it to myself, I owe it to the group to show up every day, right? And sometimes owing it to myself is enough of a motivating factor to go show up, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's you can make all excuses you want, but like if someone else is looking over your shoulder, so like having those guys there, um, you know, or having knowing that Adam's gonna be like, hey, all right, what the hell? I haven't seen you hit a workout in a week. Just knowing that that's there. Um, to me is it's helpful in motivation. I don't my leader. I don't know. I feel like time breeds comfort, and so like being with you in the program so long, it just makes it that much more comfortable to be able to share things. And I think most people don't share for a lack of comfort, whether they're nervous how people will view them, they're nervous about how someone might react, they're nervous that they may not get the response they're looking for. Someone may look down on them. They may not fit in. I think that's probably a huge driver in groups as to why people don't speak out. And, I'm fortunate enough to be at a point in my life where I don't really care if I fit in. And, I hope that that's something that everyone in the group feels that it's okay. But, you know, we're also we're lucky. Like the guys, whether it's on purpose or not, like we don't have any assholes in our group, like, and I think that that's a huge piece of it. And I don't know, intentional or not, maybe assholes don't reach out to you. I don't know what it is, but like we have a really, really great group of guys. And so, you know, them being able to show up just motivates me. Like seeing Adam had his transformation. Sean has just recently posted some pics where he's looking, jacked, and just Jake's been posting also more recently, kind of just reaching out and being more present. And it's just, seeing all the guys in the group, just it's great, and it's hard not to be motivated when you have all these guys who are rooting for you in your corner. Like it's sometimes when I need some motivation on a run, I'll start to think about, well, and at this point, my wife and kids don't come to the finish line because like this is like it used to be they'd come there, they'd cheer me on, it'd be great, it'd be great to see them. But at this point, I'm like, look, I've decided to take 4 hours out of my day. I don't know why you guys have to just stand around, waste your day. So no one's at the finish line for me at this point. But I do think about like, what if they were there? Like, would they want to see me like jogging across the finish line, or would they want to see me like pushing everything and like running across the finish line, right? Like, how would I feel if they were there waiting? Well, same thing with these guys, right? It's 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. I haven't hit my workout. You know, I think about like, okay, I could go to sleep or I could go, have dinner and call it a day. But like, what would Spencer think, or what would the guys in the group think? Like if I didn't hit my workout for that day. Not that they would judge me, but like I would want them to think of me as a consistent guy, and I would not want them to think of me otherwise. So it's like, they're there as like another kind of harness safety rope, if you will, just in case that like inner bitch comes out and says, "Nah, you can skip a day." They're there being like, "Uh-uh." So like, I think that's good too. And then, the last piece I'll say is that when any of us in the group, and I've been there, and I know Adam's been like, have had some harder times, everyone there is so supportive, and knowing that you don't have to be perfect, and everyone in the group is going to support you no matter what. And the good days, you get the same support as the bad days. And sometimes the bad days, it's more important to get that support. Knowing that those guys are there makes the bad days that much easier. And so, so you've kind of created this. We're friends. We've never met, but like we're all friends. Like in a weird world. Like we're friends who don't know each other, but we know each other. I don't know how else to describe it, but maybe when we eventually have that Gallo family fitness retreat, we'll eventually all get to meet face to face. But until then, the chat is great.
Yeah. Yeah. And that Adam and I actually had that conversation. He said the same thing. He was like, "Oh, like I've never met Ari, but I know in my heart of hearts, like if Ari ever called me and needed something, like I would be there and I would show up." And I said the same thing. I was like, "Yeah, I'm like, if Ari ever texted me and was like, 'Hey, shit's going down. I need your help,' my first response would be looking at my wife and going, 'Is there any reason I can't drive to New York City right now?'"
Right.
And like that, like,
Yeah.
and that's, I joke, but like you're 2.5 hours from me. Like, it's a train ride to get to where, like you and I could meet up. Like there's nothing preventing us from doing it other than like just scheduling it and doing it. I say that and I'm sitting here recording this podcast in Philadelphia with a long sleeve t-shirt on, and you're in New York City with no sleeves on, and it's the same fucking temperature and it's
Yeah.
cold.
It's
It's
cold.
20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Uh
It's funny you say that. Ari, my wife's name is also Ari. For those on the podcast who don't know, it's Ariel, but she's gone by Ari for forever. You say that like if they needed something, that we'd be there. Adam said that. You said like that's how I view my friends. I don't have like a huge group of friends. I have probably about, call it a dozen or so. And my wife's got friends that she's known since high school, and all that. She's got all these friends, and it really came up for the wedding, like who are we inviting, and she had this long list, and I had this shorter list, and she was like, "What? Like, what's like? Do you not like? Did something happen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you were popular in high school. Like, did something happen?" I was like, honestly, like, I've got what I consider my friends are people who, if I sent them a text and said, "Hey, I need your help," these are guys or girls, but who would literally reply back when and where. And that's all I need. I don't need 50 friends, 60, 80, 100 friends who like, you know, some, oh, my back is hurts, my wife needs something, the doc, well, like, no, like, I just need, ride or die friends who, I send them a text, they'll come, and same thing, for them. They say, hey, I need help. It's when and where. And to your point, like, that's why, that's, I think, what is so great about the family. Like, Adam, you, like, if anyone of these guys needed help, we'd all be like, okay, what can we do, whether near or far? What can we do to help?
Yeah, and I think I said it with Adam too. Is like I just in my head I always picture that scene from the movie The Town where Ben Affleck storms in and he's
Yeah.
like, "I need your help, and we're gonna hurt some people." And Jeremy Renner just goes, "Whose car are we taking?"
Whose car? Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, it's also, it's like, I can't tell you whatever it was. It's like, I can't tell you what we're gonna do. It's gonna be illegal or something, we're
Yeah,
gonna hurt some people.
and we're gonna hit
And he
some people.
literally, he pauses, he looks at him, and you can see the wheels turning and all that. Yeah, like you said, whose car? It's so good. Like, that's what it is, though, right? Like, that's what you need. That's it.
Yeah, and I think oh shit, I just had something else. Oh no, I was gonna say is something that even like it may seem stupid and maybe it's a terrible business decision and fucking if it is go off in the comments and I'll tell you people to go pound sand. But like when we run challenges inside of the community, I give you guys free coaching. Like that's part of the deal. Like if you show up and you bust your ass in a challenge, I'm going to keep coaching you for free for a certain period of time. And that's what you win. And that has, a cash value because you don't have to pay for a certain amount of coaching. And the last challenge that we ran, we set it up that there were, or well, I set it up that there were 4 top prizes. So, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks from fourth to first place. And I remember you and Adam, as fucking usual, came in first and second place. So a combined 7 weeks of free coaching between the two of you. And both of you, unprompted, messaged me and you were like, hey, is there anybody in the program that's like kind of struggling right now that could use these? And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And you were like, well, like, dude, like, I'm gonna keep working with you regardless. Like, I don't need the free weeks. Like, is there somebody else that could benefit from like having these extra weeks? And I sent both of you 2 different people, and I said, I'm not gonna be part of this. You figure it out with them, and if you guys are cool with it and you agree with it, you send me a group message, and I'll set it up. And both of you did, and you both gave multiple of those winning weeks to somebody else in the group that frankly like needed it. And both of the people that you gave them to subsequently had messaged me shortly after him and like that meant a lot because like I was really struggling and that like kind of helped give me that bump where it was like somebody else was there helping support me. And like that's something that again, like maybe that's a terrible business decision and I don't fucking care. But like that's something that like I feel like you don't see that a lot in an online fitness community where nobody actually knows each other. We don't all train in the same gym. Like nobody has ever met in person. And you guys are just like, I'm going to help that guy out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember, we don't have to say, definitely, I would prefer not to mention names. No, I don't mean Adam. I meant the people that he and I both helped. I prefer not to mention names, but um, the person who I don't know who Adam helped, but the person who you told me to reach out to, I think, if I'm not, it was right around Christmas time, right? Like, it was around the holidays, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Thanksgiving,
Yeah, I
or
think
right
it
around
was
that time.
right. I think it was in December time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I remember, so like you said, I chatted with this guy, and he was like, wait, what? Yeah, he was very taken aback, but extremely grateful. And I'll be honest, and I'm not taking credit for anything that he's done, but like, I've noticed, like, a maybe not a turning point, but like, he's been showing up, and like, I'm noticing PRs from him. I'm noticing he's active in the chat, and like, I don't know what it was, but like, I'm thrilled that, like, he's part of the group. I'm thrilled that he's, whatever, able to do it. Um, yeah, it was overall, I think it was just a fabulous win, for the whole group. Like, just, you know the competitive side of it is obviously brings us together. Some gift giving is always not, like, that also brings people together. It was great. And the feeling of, like, you wanting to give back to us by giving us these free weeks, was obviously appreciated, and it's not lost on me that, like you said, that is money out of your pocket. And then being able to kind of pay it forward is just, I don't know, it's just good vibe. I don't know. Like it's like the world goes around like that, right? Like pay everyone if everyone's paying everything forward, well, like everyone's gonna be a lot happier. Like politics aside, sports aside, different like whatever, like what I mean, like putting literally everything aside, right? Like aliens come down tomorrow, it's Team Human versus Team Alien, right? Like we're all just here, right? We're all on the same side. It doesn't matter if I like blue and you like purple, or I like the Bulls and you like the Knicks, or whatever. Like it doesn't matter. Like everything gets put aside. It's us versus them. Like so, like if we start doing that, like right, and maybe Gallup Fitness is its own little ecosystem that's like giving back to everyone and pushing everyone forward, and you know, we win when we all win type of mentality. But it's just, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great program, and the fact that there were more than just four winners, I think, is also a great outcome as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, as we are way over our time schedule, to start to kind of lean into wrapping this up, I think, again, terrible lawyer. If you had to go back and kind of envision who you were 2 years ago, and that person was standing in front of you right now, and they were like, I don't know if I want coaching. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if I should do it. Like, what would you tell that person? Like, if they were like just skeptical and like not sure if this was going to work, maybe they've, in your situation, like maybe they've talked to other coaches that were like, you have to do this, 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 and this, or they followed those other programs or done those other things. Like, realistically, like what would you say to somebody that's just like almost feeling burned out by fitness and doesn't really know if this is the right step?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, just do it. Although I saw a great recent podcast about Nike about the mentality of just do it. Whereas, like, if they would have gone with do it, it would have felt more of like a command versus just do it, which feels like, yeah, okay, it's bad, but just do it. Like it feels more like encouragement. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But like, it's super easy for me to say, hey, the advice is just do it, because that, like, you're gonna take my word. Like if they don't know you, then they don't know me. Like, okay, so who am I to say just do it? So again, that's like a very easy, the most basic, just sign up. But I think the other piece of it is being open to be honest in the program. I think is the most key, and I don't even mean like within the chat. I think being honest to yourself, but also to you, is what I think the most beneficial is the wrong word, but the key to success, right? Like if you're, you can put I could put in any weight that I want, on weigh-ins. Granted, I've got a scale now that does it, but like I could type in whatever weight I want. I could suck my gut in for progress check-ins. I could lie about what macros I'm eating. I could, eat stuff and not put it in. You would never know, right? Like, eventually you might be like, hey, Ari, like, I don't know, you're eating 1,000 calories and you've gained 7 pounds. Like, maybe, but like, the reality is, like, there's no way for you to know, right? So, aside from just do it, I think that that's a decision that everyone's got to get to on their own. The advice I'd give is if you are going to do it, you owe it to yourself to give it your best shot. You owe it to yourself to be honest with yourself and with Spencer, you, because that's the only way that it's going to work. You know what I mean? Like, you could check off that you went to the gym, but like, or you could skip it and not tell Spencer. Like, but if you're not going to do it, there's no point in signing up. So being honest, being straightforward, being vulnerable is not easy, but that's really the best way forward. And so for anyone who's thinking about the program, obviously I'm a huge proponent. Obviously I'm a huge fan of Spencer, and I've not only have we worked for the past 2 years, I'm signed up for this year. We're gonna keep going. Like, we're going forward. We don't have goals, but we have goals, right? We don't have goals, but we have goals. And so obviously it's easy for me to say do it, but I think more importantly is you owe it to yourself to do it right. And again, that means, following things, doing some things that are hard. That's okay. Doing things that are hard, you'll feel great afterwards. I've never once, I've said this in the group before, I've never once gone to a workout where I didn't want to go. And after the workout, I've been like, that was a waste of time. I always feel great. I'm always proud of myself for for doing my to-do list. Excuse me. I'm always, even if I don't hit PRs in the gym, I like just going to the gym, getting it done makes me feel good. I don't know if it's endorphins. I don't know if it's like checking a list, whatever it is, it feels good. So I've never been disappointed for doing it. So, like I said, I think it's the honesty, the openness, the like drink all the Kool-Aid and pour yourself some more and drink even more Kool-Aid. Because in a worst case scenario, if you like, at least then you could step back after 3, 6, 12 months, whatever it is, and really evaluate, did this program help? I'm not telling you that it will, although I firmly believe it will. But at least you could then look back and have an honest assessment as opposed to, hey, it's been 6 months, I haven't seen results, but I really don't follow the program. Like, okay, then you wasted your money. Spencer's got more dollars in his pocket, but like, are you really at that point really able to evaluate, did this or did this not work? No. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, dive head into the pool, drink the Kool-Aid. In a worst case scenario, I don't even know what the worst case scenario is, but like I said, you owe it to yourself, not even to Spencer, you owe it to yourself to be honest and to dive head in because it's only going to be that much better.
Love that. And then this may be like a very similar question, but if for you, like just reflecting, looking back on the last almost 2 full years together, from where you were to where you are now, like we kind of already touched on it throughout the episode, but like, how have you felt over the last 2 years? And ultimately, like, how do you feel sitting here right now, like on this podcast, saying like what you've gone through, the journey that you've had, the results that you've had, like, how does that feel for you in terms of the last, 2 years from signing up, being like, if this dude gives me a fucking 5 day a week or five meals a day plan to like now being like, I look and feel fucking awesome and I weigh the exact same as when I started. Like, how does that feel for you?
It's great, too small of it. Like, is that too short of it? Like, it feels awesome. And like, it doesn't just feel great because I like how I look. It feels great because like I know what I went through to get there. And I know, again, no one sees, yeah, I shouldn't say no one. I didn't see results the first week. I didn't see results the first month. I don't know when I started to see results. And when I say results, I don't mean numbers on a scale like we've talked about. I didn't start noticing that I looked better. I don't know when that was, but there was definitely a point where I started to notice it, and now it's obviously glaring. So, you know, I looking back on it, like I feel great. I don't know when it happened, but like I don't know. It's I kind of lost my train of thought there, but like I just like it does. I feel great, and like yeah, shoot. Oh well, that's on me. Terrible answer. Just feel great.
No, I think that I mean it's short, but like I think that it really does. Like it hits the mark, right? Like it's you've shown up for 2 years and you've put in the work, and there
Oh, I'll
were
cut you off. That's
some.
where it is. Sorry, I'll cut you off there. It's the reason I feel great is not just because I see results. The reason I feel great is because I'm holding myself accountable and I'm putting in the work. And I think that even if I didn't look or even if in my head I don't look as good as I think I do, it doesn't matter to me because I know that I'm doing what I need to do. And knowing what I need to do to keep myself healthy, to keep, to hopefully extend my life, to hopefully make myself the dad that I want to be from a physical perspective with my kids, keeping that energy up. Like I'm putting in the work. I may not wake up tomorrow, but I know that I've done everything I can to make sure that I do. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I'm that fit dad for my kids so I can keep giving them piggyback rides, so that we can keep wrestling before bed, so that we can, so that I could keep carrying them, so that I could keep carrying that heavy backpack when we go on trips because, they've got 47 snacks that they want to bring. Or that I'm still, that I'm doing what I need to do to be that fit firefighter who now can carry everyone in the department out of a building, or can carry that 350-pound victim. I'm doing what I need to do to be where I want to be, as opposed to just thinking about, God, it'd be nice to be able to do that. And again, there's things out of my control. Like I said, I may not wake up tomorrow, but at least I know. At least I'll know it wasn't because I didn't do what I had to do. I'm doing everything I need to do, and that is what I think feels the best. It's the doing is what feels good, not just the results. You know what I mean? Like, doing things feels good, and that's something that I never like. In my head, I always thought that going to the gym would be another chore. I got to take out the trash, I got to wash the dishes, I got to do the laundry, and I just, okay. So now I've added one more thing to my to do list, and it's quite the opposite. It's not something that I, in quotes, now need to do. It's something that I make time for and want to do, and that's a result that I never thought I'd see.
Yeah, I think that is a lot of it too. Is like there's that piece of it where like you can just look back and I think we touched on this in the last time that we had the larger group chat, was like the bucket list conversation. But it's like looking back, like it's not to be gruesome, but it's like tomorrow isn't a guarantee for anybody. Like you're not guaranteed to wake up tomorrow, but when you go to sleep tonight, can you realistically say to yourself, like, I showed up the best that I could today to make sure that if you don't wake up tomorrow, you don't, you know, you're not, whatever faith you're in, like, you're not sitting there for me, like, you're not knocking on heaven's gate going, I didn't do everything that I possibly could to be here today. Um, with that, to lighten things up as we finish up, two things. First question, and I don't know how we managed to go for an hour and a half and not bring this up yet. How many pints of ice cream have you eaten in the program for the last 2 years?
Dude, it's there was a time, and I mean this seriously. I was eating, call it 750 calories of ice cream, so 2 and 5 cups of ice cream on a daily basis. Um, I've I've slightly adjusted. I don't know if you've noticed. I've slightly adjusted just because I had some blood work done and my cholesterol is a little bit higher than I want it to be. Not alarming, but just more than it was the last time. And like, okay, probably something I can cut out and stop doing. But there was, I would say, at least a year period where I was having a pint, literally a pint, 2.5 cups, 360 calories, called 32 grams of protein. Which, by the way, the fact that I can quote that to you off the top of my head is still mind blowing. But a day. That was at a minimum. I was literally planning my meals knowing that, okay, I got to say 350 calories and about 30 grams of protein for ice cream every single day. It might have been more than a year, but at least a year. So as far as pints of ice cream as I had, it could be in like the 400 to 500 number. Like, and that's not an unreasonable exaggeration. That could be true. So yeah, a lot of ice cream. A shout out to Favorite Day. It's a Target brand. It's like Halo Top, but probably about half the price, and it's delicious. S'mores is my favorite. They make a great mocha chocolate fudge something or other, and then also peanut butter chocolate. Those are three of my favorites.
They make a, is it maple
Oh, it is
bourbon
maple
pecan or
bourbon something or
something?
other. Yeah.
It's that's I had never had the Favorite Day. I'd never even heard of it until you brought it up one day in the group chat. And like the next day, I posted a picture in the group chat of me at Target with a basket with like 6 pints. And I was like, all right, this is your fucking fault.
Yeah. 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 It's I didn't know about Favorite Day either. I was a big Halo Top guy, but Halo Top is like $8 a pint or something. They're like expensive. And then one day I was randomly in Target. I was like, oh, it's half the price. And it, like, at first I was like, oh, half the price may not be as good. No, it's just as good. Like, flavor wise, just as good.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is like Halo Top, you can like open it up and like eat immediately. The Favorite Day, I've learned like you got to let it sit out for like 5 minutes. But
Yeah.
to your point, like flavor is fantastic, texture is great, and it's cheaper. Um,
Yeah.
so with that, like I obviously do want to wrap up because we've been going for an hour and a half. So I just want to open the floor to you. Is there anything that we haven't talked about? Anything that you want to touch further on? Anything at all that you want to bring up and say, kind of as your final parting words for being on the podcast today?
Nah, I got no final word. We've covered a ton. I'll end with, guys, anyone who's listening to this, if you've listened to the full 90 some odd minutes of this, that and you aren't already a Coach Spencer client, like, do yourself a fucking favor. Like, he's got great programs. He'll work with you in terms of pricing and flexibility. You only want to do it for 3 months. You want to start at 6 months. I think you and I might have started a 3 month program, or maybe it was a 6 month program. I don't even remember. It's been so long. Like, now I'm just signing up year to year. Literally full 12 months and 12 months. But like, do yourself, like, if you've spent this much time listening to somebody you don't know and someone who you're considering joining his program, just do it. Like, just do it. You won't regret it. Again, show up, be honest, follow the program. You're not going to regret it. Like, I can't think of a reason not to do it. So for those of you listening, appreciate the long listen, but just, you've been waiting long enough. Now's your moment. You know what I mean? Now's your moment. Go hit him up on Instagram or hit him up on Facebook. He's in both. I don't know where else you are, but like, just go to his bio, click the link like I did, fill out a questionnaire. He'll reach out. He's an Eagles fan. I don't hold it against him. Like, come on, let's just join. It's fun, and I look forward to those of you guys who are not already with him. I look forward to seeing you guys in the community because I know that we'll be chatting soon.
And with that, I'm the only person in our group chat that still has a team in the playoffs. So watch what you want to say. But yeah, man, I love that. I appreciate it more than you, honestly, I think we'll ever know. So with that, to wrap up, to finish this episode, which will end up, at this point, part 2 of the episode. If you want to start to get results like Ari, you want to be in the program and just get to know Ari and Adam and the other guys in here and truly see those results when you put in the work, and you don't know where to start, just I'll drop the link in the show notes. You can book a call with me and ultimately just see if we can get a game plan in place for you. If you're really not sure about jumping on a call because you're like, hey, I've listened to this dude talk for this long and I really don't fucking like him, just shoot me a DM on Instagram at Spencer H. Gallo and just say the word design and we can just have a conversation and see if it makes sense. But with that, your health doesn't have to compete with your success. It can truly fuel it. And if Ari's story has inspired you in any way, shape, or form, please just, reach out to Ari, myself, come join the Gallo fitness side of things and see if there's anything else that we can do for you. So thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Fitness by Design, and I will talk to you in the next episode.